Hey, good morning and welcome to the 8th Annual Black Doctoral Network Conference with the overall theme of leveraging the power of Black excellence. Today's panel discussion is injecting non-normative methods to impact leadership training. Leaders today are impacted by diversity efforts and lack thereof across organizations. We must first understand that diversity is equally important as it is to its people, performance, and projections. By definition, diversity has a multitude of meanings. How would you define it? For today's purpose, diversity is defined as the understanding that each individual is unique and has recognizable qualities that makes them different. These recognizable qualities range in race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, and other ideologies. While the term public enemy is best defined as the notorious wanted criminal. Notorious, which means famous or well known, generally for bad quality or deed. The idea that diversity is public enemy number one is a really good question, and it begs us to understand why people are divided in the workplace, why quality people are removed for good jobs, and it also shows that the very hate we see today is, in fact, public enemy number one. Our goal for today's presentation is to ensure that it's informative, it engages you, and it moves you to act. Therefore, while we listen to today's recording, I will be connecting with you through the chat box and asking you questions. I am ready, and I hope you are too. Earlier, we defined diversity as a means to understand each individual's unique and different qualities. My purpose-driven statement is derived from more than a decade of lived experience as an emerging and executive leader. I found that the less diverse a place was, the quality of its product, people, performance, and decisions suffered. Diversity in people and perspective are equally important as diversity are in programs and operations. Would you agree? I would hasten to say that we must stand up, remain strong, and walk good as we move toward making diversity more of a priority and not just public enemy number one. Some of the best places to work for minorities are those that have a commitment to diversity from high ranking individuals. Without diversity in perspective, people, and power, we remain stuck. Being stuck is no more fun than a bee sting. It hurts, it stings, and it itches. If not cared for quickly and adequately, it may cause more damage. Like diversity, when not cared for and adequately treated, it will cause more harm than it needs. Back to the idea of being stuck. It is more of an intellectual mindset than a physical one. Some of the best places to work really do incorporate diversity in its thoughts, actions, and deed. Unfortunately, the lack of diversity is real and is not met with positivity, rather, pressures and problems. In order to make the best place to work pop and enjoyable, diversity, equity, inclusion all play a key role into its factors. What are you doing in your workplace to help increase diversity and allow it to remain strong? Performance. Performance is a verb. It is the action of carrying out or accomplishing a task. Our performance is predicated upon the diversity in people we hire and the products we offer. When diversity is seen in its implementation, results often improve. Outcomes more than likely increase, and the people we serve are truly impacted. We must be careful not to fall victim to diversity fatigue. I'm sure you're wondering, what is diversity fatigue? Well, diversity fatigue has been described as a series of exhaustive events that are associated with inconsistent practices, lack of behavior in the workplace, and non-existent opportunities for individuals that would otherwise bring diversity in the workplace. Just like this quote by Stephen Covey, strength lies in differences, not in similarities. By your presence in a workplace, has performance increased? Did you know 82% of executive leaders are white that lead organizations today? In the previous slide, we shared that 82% of organizations are led by non-minorities. Race to Lead also reported that the same organizations that serve many Black and brown communities are led by non-minorities. The problem is not the people of color to fill leadership roles. The problem is, why hasn't the board of directors and hiring committees identified and incorporated more inclusive ways to advertise, recruit, and hire more diverse and qualified candidates? Hill and Curry Stevens stressed that if an organizational leadership does not change, racial equity will remain a growing concern in today's workforce. What are your thoughts about that? Where have you seen a growing concern in your workforce? What steps are we taking to help us accomplish and move toward a more inclusive workplace? Thus far, we've covered the definition of diversity, identified performance as a verb, and understood diversity fatigue as a stressful, exhausted series of events that occur in our workplace. In order to rewrite and change the narrative we see today, as minorities in leadership roles across the global workforce, we need to tackle ethnic privilege and whiteness in organizations and its management and leadership. Ayers stated it best. Understanding whiteness entails addressing the issues of privilege and looking toward achieving social justice. As the definition reads, ethnic privilege is the unearned advantage that is highly valued but restricted to certain groups. Which groups, you ask? It's easier to question than it is to answer. But again, in order for us to change this narrative, it is a fundamental necessity that we, as mission-driven, industry-leading organizations, bring forth diversity as high and as much as possible. You ready to lead that change? Strong, positive, transformational leadership. These are fundamental, necessary qualities needed to help change the direction diversity has in our organizations today. What we say matters. What we do matters. And how we engage in this dialogue around diversity matters. Therefore, the non-normative methods we incorporate at work to impact leadership training is essentially the bedrock and the unwritten behaviors that help us ensure informal, high quality, and inclusive practices are not only integrated, but they're also effectively implemented in the workplace today. Bold leadership is not only required, but we also must ensure that diversity remains a priority and we incorporate it in our practices. What are you doing today to help today? Are you incorporating practices to lead for change, or are you just staying by, waiting to see what others are going to do? Let's incorporate positive practices to ensure we are making the right changes needed to lead organizations to promote and improve diversity. Let's work. Let's revisit the title of today's discussion. Diversity, is it public enemy number one? Many of us may be asking that question. Is it? I'm not really sure. Well, let me help you. Diversity is public enemy number one. Diversity is that notorious wanted criminal that has not had its fair share in a court of law. Diversity has never or rarely had a seat at someone's board of directors table. Diversity has not even been considered before today when someone made a significant change in an organization. We as leaders must focus on creating a change we wish to see in the workplace. In order to lead and see tangible impact and create change, we must challenge the process, adjust the policies, work to improve outcomes and results, Allow diversity to be a priority. We also must create a space for people to speak up in the name of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and find a way for us to integrate diversity organization wide. Let's make diversity a priority. After all, it is what helps us perform. Just like a construction worker brings their toolkit to work each day, so should we. Our toolkit is our set of resources, abilities, and skills that we bring with us to work each day. We were hired to make a difference, to lead change, to provide impact. These five guiding principles allowed me to lead teams of people from a diversity lens and incorporate diversity in all that we did. These principles were the driving force that led to my dissertation research and helped me to understand that diversity does not have to be a public enemy. Instead, it can be a welcome partner. What's in your toolkit? You may be asking, what are the resources that are out there? Well, if you're interested in taking action and leading change and strategy, purchase your copy of Everyday Experiences to Improve Work and Life. When I started writing about the things I was uncomfortable sharing aloud, I better understood that was the very thing I needed to change. This book, along with our signature services, are great resources to consider in helping you lead non-normative methods that are not only impactful, but it will help you improve diversity in your workplace. Click pressurepoint.consulting/contact us and purchase a copy of Everyday Experiences today. I am Dr. Gary Damon Jr., President and owner of Pressure Point Consulting, LLC. We are a leading consulting firm specializing in workforce training, grant development, and emerging leadership and training. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to speaking with you.